Welcome to the Breakdown. I'm your host, Diane Rembert, avid reader, award winning literary blogger, and the founder of Diamond's Literary World, which is my footprint in the literary industry. Today, I want to talk to you about an experience that I had just the other day. I had the honor of attending a moderated conversation with Michelle Obama at the Prudential Center downtown Newark. And I shared this experience with my beautiful cousin, Casey, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Um, Let me just begin by saying the moderated conversation was based on some of the things, or basically the book Becoming by Michelle Obama. That video will come at a later date. I wanted to read the book in preparation for the conversation, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I wanted to hear the rawness, if you will, of Michelle Obama, and that made me want to go and pick up the book. Now, um, when I first heard about Michelle Obama coming to the Prudential, I was like, this is a once in a lifetime experience. Um, and I felt like, it was something that should be shared amongst women. And so, in talking with my cousin, who we reconnected probably last year, um, I felt like this was such an amazing experience for her. And so she, agreed to come. My cousin came and she brought me this beautiful, beautiful rose that you see here. And that almost like set me off. But when we got to the event, we actually sat and were able to take in the experience of Michelle Obama. I'm just going to share with you a few things. I don't know if any of you are able to go and see her in your area, but I would definitely encourage you to do so. Let me just begin by saying that the interview was done by her personal chef. His name is Sam, and we learned that Sam had been with the Obamas for many years, so he knew a lot. He had this personal relationship with our forever First Lady, and he knew the things to ask her to bring out, and I absolutely loved that. One of the first things that he asked her about was her childhood. So she explained to us about growing up in this two-parent household, but they didn't have a lot of everything, but what they did have, they cherished, if you will. She took me back because she talked about pork chop night, and on Sunday you had roast, and that sort of thing. Like, you had a night for different foods. And I remember that in our household, Saturday night, because my mom, she was running around, doing grocery shopping, and she was doing this. My dad either made steak or we had Chinese food. So that, it's like she really, really took me back. One thing that she said was they sat down at the table and they had dinner as a family because their parents wanted them to know that their voices mattered. Michelle said her father did not, he loved her, but he did not raise her as a princess. He raised her, he respected her, is the words that she used. Her father respected her. If her brother went and played soccer, she played soccer too. If her brother went and learned the piano, she learned the piano too. Like, they were raised together, if you will. But not sugarcoating or putting her, in a glass room because she was a girl. And I absolutely love that. And she said what that actually did was it raised the bar for any man that will come into her life. And I took that away. I was like, wow, that's wonderful. Let you know that I can do any and everything that a man can do simply because my father told me I could. He didn't shelter me, if you will. So they talked about that. They next moved into, we often heard that Michelle Obama is a box checker. She talked about being a box checker. She went to school and got good grades because she was supposed to. She said her brother went to Princeton because he was recruited for a sports scholarship. And she was like, I know that I'm smarter than my brother. So she applied to Princeton and she got in. She went and she didn't know what she wanted to do, but she knew she had to pick something. She knew she didn't want to be a doctor, or anything in the medical field because she didn't like science. But because people told her, you love to talk, you should be a lawyer. So she was like, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer. So she did everything that she needed to do to become a lawyer. Okay, I'm here at Princeton, so now where do I go next? So she applied to Harvard, and she got into, Harvard Law School. She was there and successfully completed, her Juris Doctor. And then she went on to become a lawyer. She said she absolutely hated it. I was just like, wow. She's like, I hated it. And she said, but she took the time to write letters, to get to know people in order to find her next job. Two things came out of that. She redefined herself, and she met this man named Barack Obama. I'll get into that next. She said the reason why she stayed in the law field is because how do you go home to your family who have sacrificed almost everything for you and tell them, I'm not passionate about being an attorney. She said, she had us laughing because she's very comical, by the way. She said, they would be like, passion? Your passion is your pay. Do you get a paycheck? That's your passion. So, she did that until she was able to find her next job. She met this black man from Hawaii, and that's just how she put it. She had never met a black man from Hawaii, so she was fascinated. But she said she put Barack in the friend zone because she didn't want to date the only other black person in, the office. And so she introduced him to her friends. How many of us have done that? Like, our forever is right in front of our face, but we're introducing them to other people because I say we're probably not ready for them yet. And I think that that's probably what happened in this particular case. But as she got to know him, then he kind of wooed her over, and then, this relationship developed. She also talked about, he asked her about being married and going on the campaign trail. Well, she said she was working, and at this point she had, minimized her work schedule 3 days a week so that she could be on the campaign trail with Barack. And it was funny because at one point she said, okay, Sam, this is going to last about 2.5 seconds because he's never going to be Hillary Clinton. She said, but lo and behold, he won the presidency, and now her whole life has changed. Sam further goes into the transition from now being in Chicago to moving to the White House. I learned so much at this point about Michelle, but about the process. Did not realize that you do not actually take residence of the White House until that oath is taken. And so there's two trucks moving up into the White House. They're pulling up to the White House. One is removing the furniture and possessions of the previous president, and the other one is moving them in. So she says while they're out, doing the parade and the luncheons and all of the things that we saw on television, their stuff is being moved into the house. She says she got to the White House about 7. First thing she said is, she's greeted by all these people that she does not know. The only familiar face that they knew was Sam. And so they were so happy to see Sam. And she's like, where are my children? Because she's like, they had to do the children's inaugural because they had, young girls. And so once they found out where the children were, she said her next questions were, where is the bathroom? Where are my underwear? Because I have like an hour to get ready for the inaugural ball. Okay, an hour to get ready for the ball, and you don't even know where the bathroom of your new residence is. That was crazy to me. Like, I was just like, what? Really look at, life a lot different. She also talked about, the first couple of years being in the White House, having everything to surround the children. The life was basically, centered around the children. And because they had to lead normal lives, these girls were having 3-car details just to go to school at any given time. They had 8 to 9 Secret Service security people around them. Could you imagine? Like, I know my childhood. I can't imagine, like, going to school. You have a car in front of me, the car that I'm in with my grandmother, and then a car behind me. And at any given time, if I go to soccer practice, or if I go to dance class, or where if I want to go to the store, I have 8 to 9 people accompanying me. So that had to be difficult for them. So I actually give Sasha and Malie a lot of respect. This was their life, and wow. She also goes into, he says, so now that they're grown, how is life as an empty nester? And she talked about how she's actually now appreciating and relearning her husband. She talked about the difficulties in their marriage. She talked about going to counseling. And I will always take away from this, Michelle saying, they went to counseling, and she told the therapist, fix him. He's exhibit A. Fix him. And then when the doctor, said, okay, what about you? Oh, clearly you're mistaken. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to fix him, And so from that, I gathered that they were regular people with regular problems. And I absolutely loved her candidness and her honesty. And that's what I took away from this whole thing. She gave us so many words of encouragement. She made us look at life a whole lot different. When we left out, my cousin just kept thanking me for inviting her to this amazing experience. And as we were walking back to the car, we were talking about it. Okay, well, what about this part? What about that part? And I said, the one thing that I gathered from this was they are regular people who just live their life in the limelight. Okay. Another thing is, she said she made sure that they ate dinner as a family, because that is what she was accustomed to. And it was funny because they were saying, the girls always went first. She said, yeah, we had to hear about their day, and she was like, the last person that they always heard from was Barack, and he'd be like, Siri, and they'd be like, foreign policy. Nobody wants to hear about foreign policy. Now that the girls are grown, like, she's like, they're like, we know nothing. I know nothing. They don't have time to read my book, So all these amazing things is what I experienced this past Sunday with my cousin. So if you have the opportunity, please go and have a sit down, or just watch a candid moderated conversation with Michelle Obama. I'm really hoping that they go ahead and put this on Netflix or YouTube somewhere. Netflix, Prime Video. I know they've got this deal with Netflix, so hopefully they'll bring it there so everybody can experience what I experienced. But until I read the book, I just wanted to come and talk to you guys about that. And also show you, I'm serious about this. See, I thank the Obamas for what they did for us, our forever first family. So until next time, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for telling a friend. Happy reading, and be blessed.